Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to what I hope to be another exciting discussion, Minecraft discussion on all things well-being. I'm Dr. Kimberly Quinn, and it is my role here to help people become the boss of their brain, the boss of their thoughts, because thoughts come first and feelings come second, and then action behavior last. So what we're saying is learning how to control our thoughts. Since thoughts dictate feelings, we actually, learning how to become the boss of our brain changes our lives. It's a great thing. So today's discussion is going to be on detaching and setting boundaries. And I think start with our, boundaries are, I think we know what boundaries are. I don't know if we ever just say it, right? But boundaries are kind of establishing what's okay and what isn't okay as far as how we're treated, right? So they're not, sometimes people think of them as walls. They're not really walls. We'll get to that later. It's really just, it's an energy thing. It's about, I'm letting you know how, what's okay as far as how to treat me and what's not okay as far as how to treat me. And boundaries are really all about respect. And I think many of us have a lot of difficulty detaching from certain things and setting boundaries, largely because really what it comes down to is our own self-value. When we don't know our value, it's very difficult to set boundaries, because it's difficult when we don't value ourselves to respect ourselves, never mind love ourselves. And so we put that out there. We are walking energy in, wearing a different outfit. We're all energy walking around in different outfits. And when we're not feeling whole and complete, we put energy out there, kind of telling, for lack of a better word, telling people how to treat us or not treat us, okay or not okay. And so often, we sort of revert to, I like to call it the vault, the unconscious is really what we're talking about. If we grew up in a situation where we weren't treated all that well, and obviously, and we talk about spectrums, right? So there's severe abuse, there's the whole middle, and then there's like a happy life. And there's no such thing as a perfect parent or perfect family or anything like that. We know that. I don't even like the word perfect, you know that. Though many of us, my story, learned, we learned to be comfortable, because that's when we're kids, we don't know any better, right? We became very familiar with and learned to be comfortable with not being treated well, and as you know, I sort of was surrounded by some pretty intense emotional abuse, some physical abuse, and even sexual abuse by an extended family member. So I kind of learned, that I had to do certain things to get love, right? So I think just the emotional abuse, I learned, what not to do and what to do. And this is how we learn to people please early on. And we often learn, that we learn to become human doings, and then we become dependent upon external approval really early, because the child needs the parent's love, right? That's kind of in the contract, the parent, is supposed to love the child, and we need that nurturing and all that mirroring about about ourselves and who we are. That's how we learn who we are, is from mirroring from the important, key players in our lives. And when that's, unhealthy, there's of course spectrum of unhealthy. There's a little bit in like the middle, and then, completely toxic. But when we learn that we have to work at being loved, because like the very, definition of love, right, is, it just is what it is. It just loves you. It's not conditional. But when we learn that love is conditional, which I definitely learned, we grow up and we kind of leaks into adulthood, and we don't even know it or realize it until it comes to our attention somewhere along our path to authenticity. Like, wait, whoa, how come I'm still trying to fit in, which we talked about, I think, a couple episodes ago. How come it's that sense of belonging that we all crave as human beings, but maybe I'm working a little too hard at it in my 50s or 60s. And it comes back to really that feeling of feeling whole and complete that we're trying to chase down externally, and it just doesn't work that way. We're looking for, that external approval involves trying not to disappoint people, We want them to like us, blah, 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 blah. But when the authentic self is in the driver's seat, of course, authenticity doesn't need anybody's approval. Just doesn't. Authenticity also doesn't need fixing, and we're also looking for that often. And so there's the boundary setting thing, and the boundary setting thing, Brene Brown talks about this actually, that she's done a ton of research. If you've ever watched her, she's really pretty amazing. And she found in her research that the most compassionate people were boundary setters, because it's about self-respect and self-love, right? So if they're setting boundaries on what's okay and what's not okay as far as treating them, they're then respecting themselves and loving themselves. And we can only love and respect other people and accept other people and all that when we love and accept and respect ourselves. So that wasn't any big shocker, when we learned that from Brene. And that they're therefore not about separation, because they actually bring us closer together, when these healthy boundaries are established, because boundaries actually free up the authentic self to be the authentic self, because we've kind of filtered out the messages of what's okay and what's not okay. And we've also sort of stepped out of the current of the drama too. That's another thing. So when we set boundaries, we can then detach from the drama. And it doesn't mean that we don't care about the people. It's called detaching with love, unless they're toxic, and then we don't care at all. But let's say we do care about them and there's drama. We can really step out of that current, because it's just, we don't want to do it. I don't want to participate. I don't want to participate in that drama. And we can just, again, with our healthy boundaries, just say that. And when we're coming from an authentic place, with authentic confidence, people just listen. Rather than trying to do these, like the people pleasing and the rescuing. Rescuing is a huge one, right? And all this codependent behavior. When we put out there that we do value ourselves, we are whole and complete, it's just, the message is just like a strong one. And that also brings with it more respect. There's like a magnetism, like a charisma. If you've ever seen somebody or witnessed some experience, maybe experience is the word I'm looking for, and they walk into the room and they don't even open their mouth yet. They just got it going on. They just got a confidence and a charisma going on. And it's because the authentic self is in charge, because the authentic self has the charisma. All the fakey fake and all the codependent behaviors we do are just, attempts at false selves that anybody can see through, really. Not only that, they're exhausting. They're so exhausting. Versus when we just are our authentic selves, we don't have to put any effort into being the authentic self. When we're being our authentic self, we just are, just who we are. And the boundary setting thing can be wonderfully liberating, rather than keeping on, trying so hard with people in ways that are not authentic. All the codependent ways are not authentic, and we're not judging, because those all come from injury from early on, usually. And our need to be a human being, and our need to be liked and approved of, and maybe sometimes we find ourselves trading a little bit of niceness to get approval, which is, I feel like that's selling ourselves out in a way. And it doesn't mean to not be a nice person, although we have to realize, when we are authentic, not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. And if we try to make everybody like us, that's about us having a really deep wound that needs to be filled with admiration and approval and all kinds of kudos. And that's really, it's injury. It's dysfunctional egoic thinking. And boundary setting really liberates us from that. And wow, I can't tell you how great it is, how great the feeling is to, when the authentic self is back in the driver's seat. It's just such an amazing feeling. I can't even put words to it, honestly. It just, oh my gosh, it's like you just feel like you're one with you, for sure. You're one with God or the universe. For me, it's God, if you want to say the universe, source, creator of all things, whatever. And you just feel so in alignment. Think of like my cousin Jimmy, the chiropractor, shoulders over hips over heels. And you just feel right with the universe, I guess. That's the best way to say it. And so, detach from the drama and learn how to set boundaries. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.